We're going to a city on the south coast of Turkey that had a port 2,000 years ago, and now it's the second biggest port in Turkey. Welcome to Mersin! So this is Mersin on the south coast, only about an hour's drive from Adana. There's just over 1 million people live here in the urban districts, and nearer 2 million if you include all the districts around it. It's not renowned as a tourist centre, but only half an hour's drive away from here is the ancient city of Tarsus, which is where St. Paul was born, and there's some relics of his there, and we covered Tarsus in our Adana film. And there's a huge harbour here and port. And it's the second biggest port in Turkey, second only to Istanbul. It deals with millions of tons of goods every year and has huge fuel, grain silos and cold storage facilities. And it's directly connected to the rail network. So let's have a quick look around the city. So I'm walking down the cordon, the promenade, which is very long, and the cycle track goes for miles. And I'm not near the centre of what you would call the city centre. Adnan Menderes Boulevard, or Boulevard, follows the promenade and cycle track for about 9 miles, with cafes and interesting monuments to see on the way. Including an F-16 bomber that's seen better days, but is popular with the nesting birds. And there's wide picnic areas in the shade all the way down the promenade. There's also some cycle stations here too. So somebody's just told me to use the bicycles I have to download an app called Paybis. And I've looked on the App Store but I can't find it. It just comes up as Bitcoin. So unfortunately it looks like I'm walking today. The promenade also crosses 2 marinas, and one of the marinas is probably the most popular place in Mersin. The marina is a place where you can choose either a nice restaurant, a fast food outlet, or just go shopping. Find anything you like?
No, everything's small.
Yeah, that'll suit you. So we found the quietest place that we could.
Oh, I feel in my element now. It's lovely. Clearly the place to be on a Saturday afternoon is the marina. Looking at the car.
Yeah, can we find our car? Not far from the centre of Mersin, on the coast, are the remains of the ancient city and port of Soli of Cilicia, which became Pompeiapolis over 2,000 years ago. And this area has been ruled by many civilizations through the ages, including the Hittites, the Syrians, the Persians, the Armenians, the Greeks, the Egyptians, and of course, finally the Ottoman Turks. And at a place called Yumuktepe, they have found evidence that there were people living here 8,000 years ago. Which makes Yumuktepe one of the oldest settlements ever found, and some of the artifacts from the site are in the archaeological museum here. There were so many interesting artifacts in the museum, from Neolithic to present day. And my favourites are always the glass items, which are thousands of years old, and in particular a glass bowl, which I've never seen before. One thing I like about this museum is the lighting. It's been really well done. And there's a nice cafe at this museum. This museum is next door to the Deniz Müzesi, or what we would call the Maritime Museum. I didn't visit this museum because it didn't take the museum card, and they wanted to charge me for videoing. The old town is very typical of most cities here in Turkey, with the usual shops and hardware stores. But there are several significant and notable monuments and buildings, like the Murdat Mosque, with its 6 minarets that are 81 metres high, that's 266 feet. The Murdat Mosque is right behind the Archaeological Museum. And there are a few other buildings, including the Culture Centre, the library, and behind me is Ataturk's House Museum. And every city I visit, I always visit the Ataturk Museum. But unfortunately, it's shut on a Sunday, and today is Sunday. There are also 2 churches here near the centre. It was built in 1853 by, I think, the Italians that were here at the time, and the French. And there's also the Orthodox Church, which is next to the Culture Centre. Mersin is linked to Adana and Tarsus by a railway line which opened in 1886. At the moment it's being renovated because it's being upgraded for the new high-speed system which will connect almost all the cities in Turkey by 2030. And there's a metro system being built at the moment which should be finished by next year, 2026. But you can't come to Mersin without seeing one building which dominates the skyline. That's the Mertim Tower, which is 177 metres high. It's often called the Metropole. 52 floors. Inside is a huge shopping mall, offices, and it's a hotel too. It was the tallest building in Turkey for 13 years until the year 2000, but now the Central Bank of Turkey building in Istanbul is the tallest at 353 metres, that's 1,161 feet. And there are now 35 other buildings here in Turkey taller than the Mersin Tower. Heading west towards Erdemli and Kızkale, there are literally thousands of residential apartment blocks. Many are occupied by Syrian refugees who have come here over the years, and thousands of Turks who have relocated from the Hatay region after the earthquake of 2023. Temperature today is about 26 degrees and it's the middle of March. In fact, it's lovely temperature through the winter, although it does rain quite a lot in the winter apparently. But in the summertime, they hardly see any rain and temperatures get up to around 40 degrees C most days in the middle of the summer. Cennet Cehennem is a sinkhole what we would call heaven and hell. And it's about an hour's drive from here. It's a naturally formed big hole in the ground. Yeah, well, this supports the platform so that you can look into hell. So this one is called Cehennem, or hell. And I think it's 130 meters deep or something like that. And you can see from the crust on the top that it was a cave originally, and then could have been thousands of years ago the roof of the cave collapsed and left it open to the air. Well, it's quite impressive, isn't it? And you can see there's all trees and shrubs growing in the bottom, and there's lots of stalactites and stalagmites. And the stalactites, you can see, they're actually part of what would have been the roof of the cave before it collapsed. But the Cennet, or heaven's sinkhole, is much bigger, and there are steps going down into the bottom of it. Luckily for us, there is a lift, which apparently is not always working. Down in the big lift. Merdiven'den kaç adım var?
452.
Ama şanslıyız.
En aşağıya kadar.
He, tamam. Biraz daha var o zaman.
Evet.
He, tamam.
Buraya kadar 250 basamak, daha sonrası
Tamam.
mağaranın içerisinde.
Tamam, teşekkürler. And at the bottom is an amazing surprise. There is a huge cave here, and the Christians in ancient times built a church here, considering this to be an important place. There is a written inscription on the church entrance that says it was built in the 5th century by a religious person called Paulus, and he dedicated it to the Virgin Mary. There is no roof on the church, and it looks like there never was. And there's still paintings on the roof here. Incredible. The cave is not so impressive inside, but it's worth going in just for the photograph looking out. They've actually put wire on the steps, which is really good actually. It stops it being so slippy.
Is it cold?
Yes, it's cold. There's quite a few steps and a wooden platform which takes you right down into the cave. But you do see how the cave was before the ceiling collapsed, which is really impressive, and lots of stalactites. Not far from the sinkholes is a small resort. This is Kuzkalisi, which is a small beach resort, and at one end of the beach is an amazing castle. But it also has an island castle just off the coast. Kuzkalisi means girl or maiden's castle. The two castles were originally the stronghold of the Karakas town. Karakastle foundations date back to the ancient times, but both castles were rebuilt at the end of the 11th century, and they were once connected by a causeway, some of which still remains. In the summertime, this beach is very crowded as it's one of the closest resorts to Mersin. Another interesting ancient site close to Kuzkalisi is the Adamkayalar, which are in a valley high up in the mountains. These stunning rock carvings were done around 200 AD, but they are very difficult to get to down a dangerous pathway. A little further away along this coastline are several castles. The most interesting one, which is around 200 kilometers from Mersin, is probably Memoria Castle, which was originally built by the Romans. And it's just an incredible castle. It's only been open a few years. The last time we come here, they were still doing restoration work on it. But it is just incredible. It should be on Game of Thrones. It's one of the biggest castles I've ever seen, and the way that they have actually done all the restoration work, it looks like a brand new castle, but absolutely huge. It's almost two castles in one actually, because there's this huge courtyard in one side, and then you go through this little doorway and there's another one on the other side. The remains suggest it was built around the 3rd or 4th century, and it is of Roman construction. Although it's been repaired and rebuilt several times over the centuries by different civilizations. So if there's any producers that are looking for a castle for their film, come and look at this one. So what about places to stay? Well, there's about 100 hotels in and around Mersin. Most of them are sort of business class hotels, so they are a little bit more expensive than some of the resorts. Most of the hotels are around £80 and above. We stayed in the Divan Hotel here, which is a little bit higher price than what we would normally pay. The room was nice and it had nice facilities, including a swimming pool and a sauna and a sea view. But unfortunately, because it's next to the road, it was a little noisy, and the next day we moved to the back of the hotel, which was much quieter.
And basically we are modelling today the latest Divan hot toweling robes. As you can see, they're quite stylish.
Styleless, I'd say. They've got no style. Who the hell invented these? Even the belt comes around my chest. It never comes around my waist in these things.
Well, at least yours goes around you. Some hotels, we can't even get them to meet.
As you can see, we travel light.
We've only been here for how many days?
4 days. Well, look at this. They're going to laugh when they see this, aren't they?
We look like the hillbillies going camping. What are you getting?
I can get in, no problem. Look, I'm professional.
You've stolen someone's job. Right.
Can I get in? Come on.
In I can. Oh. Oh.
Just fit in the lift, hang on. There's quite a few shopping malls here, and where we stayed at the Divan Hotel, at the back of it is one of the shopping malls, which is called the Saya Park. All the shopping centres nowadays seem to have all the same shops in, except this one does have a cinema and a few fast food outlets. There's a few famous dishes that come from this area, especially in Mersin, and one of them is called tantuni. So we thought we'd better go and try it. Ne koyuyorsunuz içinde?
Domates, soğan, maydanoz, bonfile eti. Görmüş olduğunuz gibi bonfile eti.
Wow. Ne güzel. Bir de seçebilirsiniz değil mi? Mesela tavuk olabilir.
Tavuk da olabilir, domatessiz de isteyebilirsin, soğansız da isteyebilirsin,
He.
maydanozsuz da isteyebilirsin.
Bir de baharatlı.
Bunun yanında yoğurtlu tantunimiz de var.
Öyle mi?
Evet, çok da güzel.
Tamam. Tamam. 2 tane alırız o zaman.
Tamam.
Oldu.
It's very similar, or reminds me of a Beatty.
A bit like a
A
Beatty.
Beatty, which is meat
Yeah.
done in a wrap, and
I
then
think
they
I need
cut it.
I think I need a knife. I'm making the right mess of it. Really nice. I like it.
That's better for me.
You prefer the chicken
I prefer
one?
the chicken one. More flavour.
So what's the nightlife like here in Mersin? The most popular restaurants and locantas are on the coast road. So look at that. Although we did visit one restaurant which was recommended on TripAdvisor.
We've just found this lovely restaurant in a back street, somewhere that you wouldn't even think of finding a restaurant. And when you walk inside, it's like Aladdin's cave. It's beautiful, very romantic.
And you have to press the doorbell to get in.
Many years ago, this building was originally a French police station, now serving French Lebanese food. The ambience, the staff and the starters were all lovely, but the main course wasn't to our taste, and it was also a little bit on the pricey side.
So what's the best way to get to Mersin? Well, we went in the car. It took us 10 hours from Fethiye. But there are national buses going from nearly every city in Turkey to Mersin. And you can fly to Çukurova from Istanbul airport. Pegasus are doing the flight to Çukurova, which is just outside Tarsus, only about 40 minutes from Mersin, for £25 each way. So that's it from Mersin.
Don't forget to like
Subscribe.
and hit that notification bell so you don't miss where we go next.
Thanks for watching.